Welcome to the Forget About Money podcast. In this episode, we are going to do things much differently than we've done in the first 43 or 44 episodes so far. In this episode, we are going to talk about a money topic first for about the first half, and then we'll transition, and then we're just going to forget about money and then talk about whatever it is we want to talk about. And we're very glad that you're here to join us. The money topic for today is going to be dual income, no kids. We've got Carla here. I've known Carla for a number of years now. I've spent some time with her at Camp FI events, and I believe our paths actually crossed once or twice while we were in Colorado. So she is in Colorado. I am in San Diego, and right now she's looking out the window at how much snow are you having there?
I mean, I think we're supposed to get something like 10 inches today, which is pretty insane. But looking out the window right now, that feels very accurate because it is blizzarding out there. It's really beautiful.
Well, it is so cold here in San Diego, too. I think it's like, I don't know. Alexa, what's the temperature outside? Ooh, it's very frigid. 67 degrees outside.
You poor thing. Can I get you like a
I'm going to get a hoodie and come back.
Hot cocoa? What can we do there?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Tea, some maybe eggnog.
Yep. I'll
spiked.
Send you an Uber Eats of some hot cocoa here as soon as we're done recording.
Nice. I appreciate that. You have been married for 18 years.
16 years. 16 years. But I've been with my husband for like 20 years, so that's not too far off. Yeah. No, he's really wonderful. Yeah, I think if you have met me at any kind of Camp FI events, you've probably met my husband, Robert, too, because we tend to hang out a lot.
Yes.
Probably too much. We do finish each other's sentences quite a bit. But yeah, I've been married for a very long time. So I am happy to talk about the whole DINK phenomenon because I am your resident expert on that topic.
And it is an interesting topic because there's so many aspects of it that are kind of overlapping. Or, you know, those Venn diagrams, you have like those who claim moral responsibility, those to have kids, or what are the impact of on society, or sometimes religion gets involved. And
that's true.
So it's a lot of different things that can overlap. And you almost have to, if you're ever going to talk about it, like if you were just going to see somebody casually and it come up, I'm not sure why it would ever would, but it does apparently, because there's a lot of people on Reddit who get pissed off about it. And
it's true.
So you would have to almost like set the criteria for the conversation to even have like a decent conversation out of it. So we are going to set that criteria.
Okay.
First off, let's define what DINK is, D-I-N-K.
Okay. So as I understand it, DINK stands for dual income, no kids. So it is a household just like mine, where you have a couple, both of whom are bringing some dollars in the door, and no kids around to suck up lots of that income that is coming in the door. So dual income, no kids. Did you know, though, David, that there are lots of other acronyms for DINKs? So my personal favorite, which also applies to us, is DINKWAD, which I find to be very funny. DINKWAD is dual income, no kids with a dog. And we do have the world's best dog. I mean, I don't want to insult anyone else's dog, but ours is pretty perfect.
Debatable.
Not at all debatable. But anyway, yeah, we are DINKWADs, if you want to use that term.
I've been called something close to that at some points in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not the most flattering term I've ever heard, but it is accurate. It applies to us. But yeah, there's also SINK, single income, no kids. I heard one recently. I don't know. This is just like general acronyms to apply to people in their financial situations. But I think there's one called KIPPERS. Have you heard of KIPPERS?
I've not.
Okay, so I think KIPPERS stands for kids in parents' pockets eroding retirement savings.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, it sounds definitely a thing that is going on in today's society. So yeah, there's just so many acronyms, so many fun things to talk about in this vein.
Yeah, in preparing for this episode, I saw single SIWK. Is that single income with kids?
That would track. That makes sense to me.
If you're a single parent, I guess, maybe. And then CF, I had to look for that one up. It took me a second, but child-free. So if you're like in these forums and you see CF, that's what child-free means. The first thing that popped up was cystic fibrosis. I'm like, I'm not really sure what that has to do with dating and money, but let's go down this rabbit hole. So I finally discovered that it was child-free and not cystic fibrosis.
Yep. Okay.
Why did you embrace the DINK lifestyle?
Oh my gosh. We love kids. We think kids are wonderful. Every time I'm around kids, I enjoy the heck out of it. But it is obviously a huge undertaking to have kids. And I guess I'm kind of the mindset that it should be something that you want with all of your heart, with zero hesitation before you go down that path, because it is just the biggest responsibility you can possibly take on in life. And you as a dad, I assume, would agree with that. So yeah, we both really enjoy kids, but having one of our own full time is a lot. Yeah. So there were a lot of reasons. I also had a very high stress, demanding career for many years. And it just I could not see where a child would fit into that puzzle of, filling your time and being able to be a good, dedicated parent. And by the time I got out of that, we were starting to feel like, we're getting a little bit older. And yeah, maybe for some health reasons too, it just wasn't the best call for us. So for us, it was a whole amalgamation of things. But I love kids. I think kids are great. I think everyone who has kids is a braver soul than I. But yeah, we just really enjoy each other so much. We love each other so much. We've been each other's best friends for 20 years now, which is pretty amazing. And we don't feel like something is missing, which is a very, very lucky and fortunate place to be. I know a lot of people who don't have kids, it's not by choice, and they feel like something's missing. So yeah, we're very lucky. What about you? Why did you decide to have a kid?
Well, I was single until 32, roughly. And that's when I met my now ex-wife. But I was focusing on career, money, having some, autonomy in my early adulthood. When I got married, I married into a stepdaughter, which was amazing. Then I don't even think it was a conscious decision I really don't even remember if we were technically trying to have a child. I just remember being very happy when we found out that we were going to have a child. So it wasn't as necessarily as calculated as some people try to attempt to make that decision. And then there's two ends to that spectrum, right? There's people who just don't calculate at all about when to have or not have children. And then I do think there's maybe people who are on the other side of the spectrum and who overcalculate. And if you overcalculate, the timing is never, ever perfect to have a child. You can always find a reason not to have a child. Like my brother, Steven, he's got 2 kids. It's great to watch them grow up. He and I were just talking recently, and we're not young anymore. So we were like, would we have another kid?
Oh, wow.
And we really love being parents. It is challenging, but we do love it. Neither one of us are pregnant though. So far, so good.
That's good to know. So you and I were prepping for this yesterday, and you were trying to get your son over to say hello to me. And I got to say, that didn't go very well, David. He was not
It did not go very well.
It's not very amenable to that. Maybe that's on me, though. I'm just not that exciting.
So listener,
to come over and say hi to. That's fair.
We have to give a little bit of context here. So at a campfire, I think it was in Colorado. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In Colorado Springs. My son and I went a couple years ago, and Carla was there, and Carla plays piano. And my son has taken some piano lessons in the past, so he's somewhat familiar with the keyboard. And Carla was very, very gracious to spend some time with Quentin and teach him a little bit of piano. And they had a really good time. At least Quentin did. Carla, she looked like she was having a good time.
I was having a good time. I love the piano so much, and I love getting to share it with people. So yeah, I would give Quentin music lessons any day of the week. You just gotta...
I'm glad we're recording this.
Get him in the same room.
So yesterday when I got on and talked to Carla, I was like, Quentin, get in here. He's like, I don't want to. He's 10 and a half. So he's like that balance between shy and not doing what his dad asked him to do and all that stuff right now. Part of growing up.
Yeah,
he did say next time that next time he will poke his head in and say hi. He did say that after all of that went down.
I'm going to count on that. My fragile little ego can't take it if I get rejected again. So
I know. It was odd because...
So what do you think is the best part of financially? What do you think is the best part of being a dad? What's the worst part of being a dad? Do you feel like it's been a huge drain on your finances? Has it been something that you've been able to do relatively inexpensively? I'm curious to hear.
Yeah, let's talk about the impact of finances regarding children. I was reading an article. It was an Investopedia, but they referred to another article or to a study, and it was statistics from Brookings Institution, which is an economic think tank, they showed that the average middle income family with 2 children will spend $310,605 to raise a child born in 2015 through 2032, up to age 17. I'm not sure why they didn't go to 18, but in my calculations, I shifted that over to 18 and just used that same amount. And so I was curious about, okay, well, what does that mean for people who are in the FI community or who are worried about retirement income? So that total would be $310,605 across that 18-year period. Maybe they started when the kid turned 1. I'm not sure exactly how they computed it.
Man, that's leaving out a lot of diapers at the beginning there, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way I computed that would be about $17,256 per year, or about $1,438 per month. Now, if that was invested across that 18 years at an 8% compound rate of return that we in the financial independence community generally use for our own planning, at the end of 18 years, that becomes $646,241. That is a lot of money.
It sure is.
When you think about what does it cost to raise a kid, it's also the opportunity cost of using that money to something else like a retirement income. And using the 4% safe withdrawal rate, the difference that's just after 18 years. Many people will work for many more years and then retire. But at the end of that 18 years, should you use the 4% rule to withdraw some kind of income, that's an added $25,850 a year. Can mean a lot. I mean, clearly that's a lot of money.
Quite the chunk of change.
So that is how financially having kids can impact. Now, you can go back and you can debate how they determine. You can also say like, well, it doesn't quite cost that money. I didn't spend that much money on my kid. Therefore, am I a bad parent? Like, whatever. Like, but these are just numbers that are out there that I found that are as good as any to make these calculations on. So it does matter. And it will have a significant impact if you were to invest that difference. Now, most people, it's probably not that cut and dry. There's many other reasons that people become a dink, such as like the flexibility to travel. And you've done that well in your life. So you may have taken a portion of that, what one would spend on their child, and go spend it in ways that you find joy, like traveling. Is that what reflected in your own experience?
I would say we've certainly done that to an extent. Yeah. It's funny, since we've moved here to Colorado, we came from Texas, where it's just very hot and flat and there's not a lot to do unless you want to go shopping. But yeah, when we moved here, I feel like my desire to travel went down a lot because we've got so many places to explore right here in our own backyard. But we definitely have done some traveling. In 2019, we took almost the whole year off of work and went all over the place. We did a big backpacking trip on the Pacific Crest Trail, and we road tripped up through Oregon, Washington, Canada, up to Alaska, and then came back here and went through Montana, Wyoming, and then down to Colorado. We went over to Europe for a few months. It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I will say, I don't think that cost anything close to what a kid would cost in a year. Well, especially because that was just our normal living expenses. Like, we completely shut down our life in Texas. So we had no mortgage or rent. We had, like maybe $50 a month on a storage unit to keep all our stuff. So a lot of our normal living expenses were shut down. So yeah, extended travel can be done much more cheaply. We have definitely done more traveling since we've been here. Not as much as I thought we would do because we just like it here so much. But yeah, travel is a big piece of the puzzle, I think. And then just hobbies, backpacking gear, ski stuff. We've definitely spent money on those kinds of things, and they really enrich our lives a lot. So yeah, I think that is probably the biggest draw to not having kids in terms of the money. If you're thinking about it purely from a financial perspective, you just get freedom to spend on things that really bring you joy, which does not suck. I'm not going to lie to you.
So at no point during you walking up that mountain do you think, I would love to have a 20-pound baby strapped to me while I'm doing this?
Nope, that is not a thought that has ever crossed my mind. Yeah, usually when we're backpacking, I'm thinking like, why didn't I saw off the handle of my toothbrush or like save every possible ounce that I could have saved because backpacking is hard, but it's also a lot of fun. So we've been able to do some really cool things with the time that we've opened up by not having kids. So I don't have a lot of complaints about it. It's been pretty solid.
Did you ever, was it a conscious decision between you and your husband to say, we are deciding together we are not going to have kids? And how did that conversation go?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something we've talked about together a lot over the years. He was always pretty firmly in the camp of, I would prefer not to do this, but if you really, really want to, then okay, I will get on board. So that was pretty much the extent of the discussion. That was the tenor of the discussion. He pretty much left it in my court. And I felt like I was very happy without kids. And so, for all the reasons I've already rattled off, I felt like it was a good choice for us personally not to go down that road. But we have nieces and nephews that we adore, and lots of other kids, friends' kids in our lives. And so, like I said, we really love kids. We are not the kinds of dinks who are like, oh, get those kids away from me. That's definitely not us. So
when you go to your dink groups, that's like, are you then categorized into those who hate kids and those who like kids?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. No.
So, over time, did you ever revisit it? Like you spent after, teaching Quentin how to play piano, you're like, oh, I really want a kid now because this kid's so perfect. Did you go back to your husband? You're like, maybe we should. Was there ever a time that you doubted your initial decision?
Well, first of all, it wasn't teaching Quentin piano. It was watching Quentin do karaoke that really won me over and made me question my decisions. No, we have definitely revisited it a lot. Like there was a time period for probably 10 years or so where I would just sit down and talk to him about it and say, I don't know, how are you really feeling? Are you sure you're good with this? Am I sure I'm good with this? So we've talked about it a lot, but we just always ended up coming to the same conclusion. But I would say to anybody out there who's like a fence sitter, there's actually a subreddit called Fence Sitters about this very thing. I would say just talk to your partner about it a lot, because I do think it's something where people can have sudden changes of heart. And those are good things to talk through. Very good things to talk through.
Along this journey of life, have you felt any societal pressure or familial pressure to have children? And if so, how did you navigate that?
Yeah, that is such an excellent question. I think we have been really, really lucky in that we've been pretty insulated from that. So my parents are especially great, and they have never put any pressure on us whatsoever to have kids. Like if they've said so many times to me, if you're happy, we're happy. You guys live your lives. We just want you to, be the happiest you can possibly be. I think my husband's family would have preferred if we'd had children, but they have also been very kind, and I don't think they've ever said a word about it to us. So I think we've been very fortunate in that sense. Societally, I don't know. I feel like if you pick your friends wisely, then hopefully you're not getting too much of that pressure. Like I just have always thought it was kind of strange that anybody would look at you and tell you like, this is what you need to do with your life. But fortunately, we've had very, very little of that. I feel like we've surrounded ourselves with wonderful people. And some of that's choice, a lot of it's luck. But we've got great people in our lives who don't put any pressure on us at all. I feel like it's more just random people that you meet very briefly at parties, or some people I knew growing up from childhood. You see them occasionally as adults and they're like, no babies yet. I've heard that a few times. But I just kind of brush it off. It's my life. It's our lives, Robert's and mine, and it's our choice. So I don't let it get to me too much.
Yeah, I think it's also important to realize we're talking about it as an acronym that you talk about. I mean, and this is an overt conversation, but this is not a conversation that you just usually just stumble upon. So people will assume those general social expectations. And so it's understandable that they do that. And so that you take it in stride. And I think that's a testament to how you handle yourself and maybe even you're understanding a little bit where they're coming from too, because they're just trying to have a conversation. They probably don't really mean anything negative. They're just trying to have a conversation with you. And they're like, that's noteworthy to them because it's maybe it's something that they're not familiar with.
Yeah, it's not what they're used to. I do totally understand that. And I think for a lot of people who love being a parent so much, it's easy for them to look at our life and feel like something must be missing and we must be sad about it. So yeah, I've definitely had those conversations too, where you get these like looks of, empathy or sympathy. And but I think what's my response to that, and I think it's a pretty healthy one, at least it works for me, is to just smile and be like, oh no, we're great. Like we're all good. There's no sadness over here. I promise.
Or you could do the flip side. Say it happens in a bar. You're like, I'm so depressed. They're like, oh, it's okay. I'll buy your next drink. And then you get a free drink out of it.
I mean, there are ways to milk that. That is totally true. Yeah. Okay, this is my new life plan. Maybe people will actually just, start giving us all kinds of things. You never know.
Like kids, here, take mine. You're like, wait, this did not go according to plan.
Contrary to the goal, but okay.
No more hiking for me. Yeah. Kids take up a lot of time, a lot of resources, time, energy, money. How have you redirected that to other joys in your life, maybe differently than just travel and hiking, or do you just relax more, just live a less stressed life?
I do think we get more time to just relax and recharge and enjoy ourselves in, very calm, peaceful ways. So that is fun. But yeah, I feel like it gives me more time to chase the hobbies that I really enjoy. So piano, you mentioned, is something that I do and something that I do just about every day and get a huge amount of just enjoyment and fulfillment out of. I absolutely love music. I think it's one of the best things in the world. So yeah, I am able to put more time into hobbies. I'm also a very avid knitter, so I get to spend lots of time doing that. And that has recently broadened into just like more crafty stuff in general. So yeah, I have time to just chase these hobbies that I thoroughly love. And I think another fun piece of it is dreaming up and thinking about ways to enjoy different things in the future. So yeah, I have the bandwidth and the time to think about, whether I want to volunteer more or take on a new job that would be more time consuming, but potentially really rewarding, or start more podcasts or do podcasts like this one. I mean, there's just so many fun things to do in this world, and so many more of them are open to the non-parents of the world. So yeah, it comes with a lot of benefits.
There is an expectation out there socially or historically that kids take care of their parents and as they age.
Ooh, yeah.
What have you and Robert done to, assuming that we're all planners, or at least most people listen to this probably are planners, and they're probably wondering, okay, what are you doing financially now to set yourself up for elder care or a future disability or the loss of a spouse, and then maybe you need help. So how have you kind of closed that gap of care as you age?
Whew, yeah, big question. So many thoughts on this. So like I said, my parents are just wonderful, wonderful people. And one of the things that I really appreciate about them is that they've been careful with money their whole lives. And they tell us all the time that they don't want us to have to be the primary caregivers for them when they get to the point where they may need more of that. So I think that is an incredible gift that parents can give to their children if they're financially capable of that. And if we did have kids, that is the model that I have seen, and that is the model that I would want to follow, of not putting that on them, because it is a very, very big thing to ask for. So yeah, basically we're taking that, what you calculated it to be $600 and some $1,000. So that extra money that we have that we are not spending on a kid is just getting invested and will be sitting there for us when we need it someday. So basically we are planning to have enough cash on hand to pay for the care that we may need as we get older. Yeah, that's pretty much my plan in that regard. But I do feel strongly about that. I know some people really get a lot of joy out of taking care of a parent as they get older and need that. I also know a lot of people who have been in a position where they've had to do that, and it has just been an extreme burden on them. They talk about the sandwich generation. Have you heard this term before? So people who are having to care for both young kids and elderly parents. And that is a lot. I think that really takes a toll on people's health. So we at least know we'll never be in that situation. And yeah, hopefully when it comes to our own aging, when we can no longer wipe our own butts, we can get somebody besides our kids to do that for us. I don't know. What do you think Quentin will take care of you as you get older? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think he will. I think I'll probably still be taking care of him forever.
I'm going to tell him you said that.
No, I'm sure he'll be just fine. He appears to have at least some ability to take care of himself. I just hope that it comes to fruition at some point in the next 8 years.
There we go. 8 years is a long time. Yeah, that's some time.
Yeah, he might be courageous enough to talk to you between now and then again.
Between now and age 18. I hope that is the case. I hope that's the case.
After his traumatic experience with the piano lesson, apparently. No.
Here he gets out like I slapped him with a ruler. Like, no, that's not what that is not what I did, for the record.
No, but I'll bring the ruler next time. He might need it.
Okay. All right.
So one of the reasons that I wanted to shift the format of the podcast, Carla, was it was just an hour talking about a money topic. It's just too long, I think, and
too much money.
I'm not sure how many people actually do know, because there's analytics. But at least on the videos, when people, you can see how long they watch or drop off, or what percentage actually stay and watch the whole video.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, how can we make this a little bit more, not only maybe more fun for the listener, maybe a little less formal for the listener as well. Touch on some good money topics while being entertaining, hopefully at some point as well. So that's why we shifted from that format to this format. Do you know Joe Saul Seahigh?
I haven't actually met him, but I obviously know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah, he is the host of Stacking Benjamins, and he and a few other people got me on a call last Friday because I had him on my podcast recently. And after the recording, we were just talking about podcasting, and I was telling about how my interest level, where it's at right now, and do I want to keep going with it, and that I've met my personal objectives so far. So if I'm going to keep going, things I would want to change, and so changing the format is one of the ideas that we discussed. And I thought it was like an intervention. I felt like, because it was him and two other podcasters, and they're like, David, here's what we like and don't like about your podcast.
Oh,
they did it very tactfully and with love.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was all good feedback. The bottom line is if I wanted to keep going with the podcast in some format, I wanted it to be even more fun for me. And so I do all my own editing, recording, planning, all of those things. So I do have a child, but I still find the time, because I'm actually financially independent, so I don't have to go to work. So I do have a little bit more time, like resources that to do things that interest me, and the podcast has interested me for quite some time. So I was thinking, okay, one of their feedback pieces was you should start the interview with like a very controversial question, or like where the meat of the question is. So the question I wanted to start with you was, Carla, so thinking back, when did you realize that you hated kids? That was going to be my first question.
Oh, that's great.
To which you would have responded,
there wasn't one.
So then it wouldn't have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I guess we can't put that in. But in your talk, you mentioned that you hike, and it reminded me of one of the Nate Bargatze stand-up things. Do you remember? Have you seen that one?
I don't know if I've seen one about hiking, but I love Nate Bargatze. He's great.
Yeah, he goes up. He talks about going to Mount Rainier, hiking up. Okay. He's like, it's uphill, so you got to be ready for that. And he said people are coming down with babies strapped to their chests. And he's like, I left my wallet in the car. So it just funny. That's what made me think of whenever you were talking about that you climb mountains with Robert.
Yeah.
But Nate Bargatze is great. And he was on Saturday Night Live for the first time, I think, a year and a half ago, maybe?
Yeah, I know. And he just did it again, right?
Yeah, for their 50-year anniversary show, he came back.
Yeah.
And he nailed it. Like, I think he's probably one of the reasons why people are maybe giving SNL a little bit more credit these days. But he's nailed it. Have you ever seen him live?
I have not, no, but I bet that would be really, really fun. Because he's just so silly. Like, you can't look at him and not smile. He's just really fun to watch.
Yeah, I love his deadpan. His timing is great. And at the same time, he rarely smiles at his own stuff.
That's true.
I think it's all part of the delivery.
Yeah.
And what I also like is, like, I can sit and watch it with Quentin. Like, there's nothing raunchy about it. He doesn't cuss.
Does he really not cuss? Yeah, I guess you're right.
He doesn't cuss. It's clean, but it's still some of the funniest comedy out there right now.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. So my all-time favorite comedian is Tig Notaro. We did see her live here in Boulder, actually. And I think the show that she put on live in Boulder is on Amazon now. It's called Hello Again. Absolutely hilarious. Everyone should watch it. But yeah, she kind of has that same vibe as Nate Bargatze, where it's just completely deadpan. And there's just something about that whole approach to comedy that just completely kills me and like tickles my funny bone every single time. But yeah, Tig Notaro, she's the absolute best. If you don't know who she is, you should go check her stuff out.
And have you listened to Nate Bargatze's podcast?
No, I actually didn't even know he had a podcast, but that sounds really fun.
Yeah. It's him. It's just him and like a group of his friends just chatting. Like, and I'm sure there's some kind of agenda, but it's just them kind of riffing on each other for like an hour. It's pretty good.
That sounds really solid. Yeah, Tig has a podcast as well. It's called Handsome. It's her, Mae Martin, and Fortune Feimster, the three of them. And there's just something about the chemistry that the three of them have that's really great. So it's one of my favorite podcasts these days. I really loved Tig's Hello Again thing because she uses the piano in her comedy. She cannot play the piano at all, like to save her life. But that's part of the whole bit. And I think she was talking on stage about how she showed up to one of her gigs and it was in her contract that they had to have a piano for her there. And she shows up and somebody's like, listen, we have the piano for you, but I'm so sorry. It hasn't been tuned recently. And she was like, oh, that's fine. Like, I'm just going to bang around on it anyway. Like, I don't care if it's in tune. Anyway, that won me over too because I love the piano in all forms, even if you're just banging around on it. So yeah, she's really good.
All right. I know if the listener wants to know more about Nate Bargatze, I think he's done 3 stand-ups on Netflix, or 2 or 3 on Netflix, and then 1 on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure. I guess somebody paid more than the next person.
Yeah.
And I believe he's got another one coming up later this year. And then where can we see the Tigs? Where can we see Tigs?
Oh my gosh. I think she has some stuff on Netflix. Yeah. And I think she has her latest Hello Again is on Amazon Prime for sure. Yeah. Just Google Tig Notaro. I think she's pretty much everywhere. But yeah, there's always great stuff on Netflix. Yeah. I'm curious. What else are you watching these days? What else is on your horizon? Your next Netflix watch?
Well, yesterday, actually, while we were talking on this video with you yesterday, Quentin was in the other room watching the Countdown Paul versus Tyson. It's a mini series. I think there's only 3 episodes on it right now. There might release some more between now and the fight next Friday, November 15th.
Okay.
So after I got off with you, I walked in, he's like, you got to watch this. So I go in and watch it. And I can't imagine people not knowing that this is going on right now because they were supposed to fight in July and then it got pushed to November 15th. And so one thing I'm wondering about it is, worldwide, will more people be watching that on Netflix Live next Friday than people that voted in the United States?
Oh my God.
I bet it's going to be close.
Okay, that is going to really bum me out if we go down that road, but it's also set like very darkly funny. Yeah, you can't imagine people not knowing that that's going on. Hi, nice to meet you. I am one of those people. I had no idea. Like, I barely know what you're talking about. It was helpful that you clarified that was a fight because I would not. I mean, I think I know who Mike Tyson is. I know exactly 2 things about Mike Tyson. 1, he bit Evander Holyfield's ear like 100 years ago. And 2, he was in the movie The Hangover where there was something about a tiger. He owned a tiger. That's what I got. That is the very bottom of the barrel of my knowledge of Mike Tyson.
Do you know how old he is right now?
I mean, the Evander Holyfield thing was so long ago. So yeah, he's got to be, what are we talking, like 60? I don't know.
Yes. Right now, Mike Tyson is 58 years old.
Wow. Okay. Can I get some credit for barely knowing anything about Mike Tyson getting that close? Because I feel like that was pretty impressive.
I was going to say you knew 3 things about him.
Okay.
And then Jake Paul, guess how old the person he's fighting?
I have absolutely no idea who this human is. So he could be 18 and he could be 73. I have no idea.
He's 27.
Oh.
How do you feel about that?
Not
a 27-year-old beating up on a 58-year-old.
Yeah, not great for Mike Tyson. That sounds quite dangerous. Not good. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, people talk about old man strength. Have you heard people talk about this?
I don't have it, but yeah, some people do.
Yeah, that maybe he's got a deep bank of that, but I hope so for his sake, because man, that does not sound healthy.
So I'm not sure how to gauge. I mean, I saw this documentary, but you clearly, like, if you look at it objectively, it's Netflix, it's their event. They're trying to get people to buy into it, how they're marketing it. So the messaging is some of that. And I'm just kind of wondering how much of it is for show and for a payday for each of the fighters and how much of it is really going to be a fight. They say it's sanctioned. I think their gloves are going to be a little bit heavier than normal. So there'll be like some added protection level as far as like the size of the padding in the gloves.
Is the younger guy, I already forgot his name. The younger guy's gloves are going to be heavier than Mike Tyson's, I hope?
No, they're both going to be the same. And I think
Jesus.
I don't know if they're going to be like 12 ounces versus 14 ounces, but I think as compared to normal heavyweight boxing fights, both of their gloves are going to be a little bit more padded. But still, to receive a punch from Mike Tyson, even a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, my whole life I've been like, if there was one person I would never want to receive a single punch from in the face, it would be from Mike Tyson. And I'm sure I'm not alone in that.
My list is much
If you look at these old videos where when he was, his career and his prime, even when he was like 18 or 19, he was a beast. Like at 18 years old, it was like, if you remember when LeBron James came from high school into the NBA, and then you actually watched an NBA game when he's like, where's LeBron? And you just saw this one big dude. You're like, where's LeBron? You didn't think it was like the biggest dude on the court, but it was. And so it was very similar to, Tyson when he became a heavyweight, professional heavyweight boxer at 18 or 17. I'm not sure exactly what age he became professional, but it was around that age and he was jacked. There's a lot of footage out there right now with his current training and comparing that to Jake Paul's current training. I mean, politics divides us, but this might divide us too, because you've got the older generation who saw Tyson in all of his glory, and mistakes and all of those things, and saw his life as it played out. And now you've got all this young people who are into the YouTube influencers, and they do know who Jake Paul is.
Okay.
And so it's almost like a competing age demographic. Like,
I mean, yeah,
I don't know how it's going to turn out. Either way, I hope they're neither are embarrassed. I mean, if Tyson knocks Jake Paul out, great. I think that's great. I honestly think that's what's going to happen.
Wow.
Just because they're both going to be strong and probably in shape, but I don't know how you don't undo 30 years of professional boxing knowledge and instinct. And that's what Jake Paul just doesn't have.
I mean,
we'll see.
That's true. I feel like what Mike Tyson doesn't have is a 27-year-old body. So that seems also bad. I don't know, man. Now you've actually got me like mildly interested in this, which is saying a lot because I could not possibly care less about most sports things at all. But the fact that, this age gap thing, I get why that's kind of appealing. I'm also just wondering like how obscenely girly and anti-sports my Netflix algorithm must be, because I have seen not a whisper of marketing to me on Netflix about this. So I think all my like Gilmore Girls and like Bridgerton watching must be pretty intense on the Netflix algorithm for them to just be like, no, that's not for her. She's not interested in that. This is the first time hearing of this whole shenanigans. So take what you will.
It's going to be fun to watch. No matter how it turns out, I do hope that they both walk away with all of their senses, at least the day after.
Do boxers die? Is this like a thing that happens?
It has happened.
Good grief.
It's not common, but it has happened. And I'm sure, I want to believe it's a real fight, but at the same time, this day and age, and him being an influencer, and I'm not sure if this is going through Jake Paul's promotional company or what, but
this is like you think it's going to be rigged, or you think it's going to be like some sort of WWE fake sort of nonsense?
What? Did you just imply that WWE is fake?
No. I think I just opened up a can of worms. I have assumed that it was. I did. I saw Glow on Netflix. That's sports adjacent, and it seemed fake, that show.
Do you remember the actual Glow?
I do not. No.
I do remember that.
Really? Okay.
Yes. So that means I'm probably older than you by a significant amount. But yes, I do remember Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling was a show. It wasn't all very long, I don't think. I just remember they're like, what is this? And it would just be women wrestling, just sort of like back then, I think it was WWF. It wasn't WWE back then.
Well, I don't even know what the E versus the F stands for. I know one of the W's is wrestling. I got that part down.
Yeah. I think when it was WWF, it was Federation.
Okay.
World Wrestling. Wow. Worldwide Wrestling Federation.
I'm supposed to be the sports guy. I feel like you should know this.
And then this one, so I think at some point they changed it from Federation to Entertainment, I believe.
Okay.
So if I'm wrong,
that feels
I'm sure
more
people
accurate.
are going to tell me I'm wrong, which is it's no different from any other day of my life. People telling me I'm wrong.
That tracks.
Carla, thank you very much for jumping in and co-hosting and educating me and others on the DINK lifestyle and giving us a face and a personality so that we don't just assume all dinks hate kids. No, you're amazing. I can vouch that you absolutely adore kids. And I thank you for the influence that you've had on Quentin, no matter how shy he might be to talk to you right now. So thank you very much for talking and trying out this new format with me.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'll see you later.
And thank you all for watching and listening.